Hi everyone, I'm Blair Eisman, Director of Programs and Professional Development, and welcome to our PD podcast, Let's Just Hit Record. Today's episode, episode 4, is titled The First 6 Weeks Gone Rogue. I'm joined by three remarkable educators, Mike Bottino, Nancy Duco-Sweeney, and Shana McDonough. They're going to share with you their insights, experiences, and honest opinions about SEL and how the first 6 weeks of this school year look nothing like years past. You're building community, establishing routines and expectations, but you're finding that your students need more. So let's first start by having you introduce yourselves. Mike, please start us off.
Yeah, thanks, Blair. My name is Mike Bottino. I am a 7th grade social studies teacher at Crossroads South. This is my 11th year teaching. All 11 years have been here in South Brunswick. And social emotional learning has always been a big topic for me. I remember early on being trained in the art of developmental designs when I first started here at Crossroads, and just something that's stuck with me since I started. So I'm happy to be here talking about it today.
Okay, hi, my name is Nancy Duco-Sweeney. I'm a dean at the high school, also special ed teacher. I've been in the district for, this is my 28th year teaching, 26th year at South Brunswick High School. And I guess it's my 4th or 5th year as the dean. So social emotional learning is important to me because really I feel like you can't do much else if you aren't aware and focused on your students' social emotional needs. So of course, with the kids that I worked with for the last 28 years, that's always been a big issue and something that I find the connections that I make with the kids in particular in this area helps me really get through to them and be a support to them.
Hi, I'm Shana McDonough. I have been in South Brunswick since 2000, so we're on 21 years now. I teach 3rd grade at Cambridge School, and I also do a lot of the responsive classroom training for the district, which lends its hand to social emotional learning. Social emotional learning is important to me because I find it's a way that the children, they feel included and they feel like they're significant and they find their sense of belonging in the classroom. With that social emotional piece, you help create the community and the children learn to take more academic risks when that social emotional learning and those needs are met, especially now more than ever, being that we're getting close to 18 months since we've had a typical school year, and I'm finding more now than ever before I'm having to slow down and just really hit on that emotional piece and that social piece.
Absolutely. All right. So as Shana mentioned, it's been 18 months of this pandemic. Before we jump into what our new normal is, what are some of your big takeaways from the pandemic being remote and then hybrid until the end of last June?
I mean, at the middle school level, at least, I can speak on that a bit. I think one thing that I took away from all this, if I had to distill it down to just one thing that's sticking with me, is that at least at my level, kids want to go to school. They like school, and I think we lose sight of that sometimes. And it's easy for us to focus on the negativity and the "I'm tired, I'm not in the mood today." But I think we all came away from this learning that kids want to go to school. They crave it. Whether or not they're conscious of it is a different topic, but I think they all really missed it, and we certainly missed having it as well.
Yeah, they are definitely happy to be back in school. And the high school kids are even admitting, I never thought I would say this, but I'm really glad to be back in school. Last year, it was very interesting because a lot of the kids chose to stay home, even if their parents said they could come in, and we opened up to everybody because we had the room based on the results of the survey. Not everyone wanted to come back, and kids were choosing to stay home, but now they're really glad to be back. And it was concerning when they were choosing to stay home because for a lot of kids, it brought out some more, more of the social emotional issues. And we had kids who were really struggling and, struggling with anxiety, struggling with the depression, the isolation. It's a little different for high school kids because their parents, a lot of them were still leaving and going to work. They didn't have to worry about having childcare because they're old enough to be home alone. But then for some of them, they were home alone, all day long, every day. And it was very tough for them.
Mm.
I think my big takeaway was, just how flexible we can be and how much we really rely upon one another, and we rely upon the kids being in front of us. I know I've just been so excited to have an entire classroom of third graders in front of me, and how much learning from each other, just peer learning, is so important for their success and for my success.
Mhm.
And it really instilled how much I just love what I do.
Oh,
Great. So here we are back, but it's a new normal. In August, as you prep for the school year, you probably envisioned what your first 6 weeks would look like this year, keeping in mind you would have students that haven't been in school for a long time or ever at all. And I'm sure to some degree now that vision has changed. So how has this first 6 weeks been different than any other year when you've had all students in person? And let's start with the positives, which I think some of your takeaways are definitely positives. Anything different though to add here?
I mean, I think there's definitely a palpable level of enthusiasm that I'm seeing in school. They just, maybe it's just me, maybe it's my perception, but I feel like they're more eager, they're more excited. My kids, I'm seventh grade, they're coming in, they're looking at the board. What are we doing today? Oh, what's that on the desk? Oh, you have the textbooks out. Oh, we're in groups today. I don't know. I feel like there is definitely a level of excitement that maybe wasn't there. I can't remember all the way back when we were in a quote unquote normal school year, but I'm feeling a level of excitement that's been quite positive so far.
That's
I
great.
definitely agree. In the beginning of the year, teachers, we always say there's like a honeymoon period where they come in and they're quiet, but not this year. My kids came in and they were so excited to see one another. It was just chatter, and I loved it. I didn't care, the noise level whatsoever, because they so needed it. And they were excited just to be with people their age. And, they wanted to know, first 3 minutes, am I going to get to do chorus? Am I going to get to play an instrument? The anxiousness about all the things that they were going to do was, it wasn't the typical. They were definitely more excited.
yeah. And again, we're seeing the same thing at the high school. And we really got off to a great start. The first, I would say, 4 weeks, even behaviors were great, which, you're saying the honeymoon period. I definitely know what you're talking about. But when the kids are in lunch and the full school, when everything's underway, there are always issues. And I feel like the kids were a little nervous being back and being around each other, in large groups. We were saying they haven't been around that many people in, a year and a half. So they were nervous, but I think it made them kind of calm down and ease into things a little bit. And I've noticed the last 2 weeks, kids finally starting to express themselves a little bit more with their appearances, and they're being more vocal in their opinions. So I thought it was really interesting because it was almost as if there was a level of nervousness throughout the building, especially at lunch when they're all together. And now I just feel like it is happiness. It was happiness, but it's definitely they seem now back to how we were all along before, the pandemic.
So definitely some pleasant surprises there. What though were, or what are some of the challenges in these first 6 weeks that maybe you guys didn't experience in years past?
Yeah. Oh, Shana, you look like you're ready. You go first.
Oh, sorry. Well, I just think with the little ones, there was more of the problem solving, where you usually see them coming in being able to figure out solutions for things that come up both socially and personally. There's definitely that need where we have to kind of foster that a little bit more. Um, with like executive functioning, I'm finding that's a little bit more of a challenge because everything has to be, we have to clean up and then move to the next one, where at home, maybe they weren't used to doing that. So there's definitely those challenges there. I think more than last year or the last time we started.
Yeah, I mean,
And at the high school, we have 2 whole grade levels where most kids had not been in the building before. So we had about 400 kids on at most on any given day last year, but we're almost at 3,000. So it's a big building, and it was like the blind leading the blind. Half of our building had never been in there before. So as far as like comfort level and routines and understanding the rules of the school, that took a while. I think the high school kids also missed being able to get snacks whenever they missed being able to get snacks or go to the bathroom
too.
Yeah. Get up and move around, and bells, because at the middle school level, I guess they don't have bells. So I think that, again, half of our building isn't used to us having some of these specific routines, but they're getting there. And because I think there was that nervousness, they're picking up on it all a lot quicker.
Yeah, I'm seeing a lot of the same things at the middle school level for sure. We have some struggles in the executive functioning area. Just some bad habits that were developed, like all of us, over the last couple of years or so. Like you guys said, just kind of doing things whenever you want, not when the class is ready to move on. Kids are just handing me papers in the hallway, and we have a whole contingent of kids here that really have never used a locker before, and I'm spending a lot more time than I'm used to just showing kids how to put their combos in and enter their locker combos, and how to unpack their bags, and a lot of the stuff I'm sure you guys are used to doing at the elementary level or maybe freshmen, but I think we're all just getting a taste of maybe how the grades below us and above us have kind of operated, which is challenging. I've always kind of looked at the 6th grade teachers here and said to myself, like, wow, you guys are saints. I don't know how you do that. That's amazing. You're so patient. And now I'm kind of experiencing it from their angle, which hopefully is best for all of us in the end. We all become better teachers as a result.
Yeah, I think it's smart that you're taking the time to do that. Not, well, I didn't have to do this in the past. I'm not doing it now. It's what these kids in front of you right now need. So it's great that you are taking the time to do that.
And from an SEL perspective, I think more teachers at the high school are, really considering the bigger picture and doing some more, formative assessments on their students' emotional, needs right now, not just their academic needs. So that's really been important and helpful. Even just quick little check-ins is making a difference. Kids seem to be using supports that we have for them for the most part. So that's good too.
That's great. So in the first 6 weeks of school, we always take time to build community, get to know students, establish rules and routines and expectations. This year, though, it feels like we need that plus more, which some of you spoke to. So what are some of the things that you're doing or trying in this new norm in this first 6 weeks that maybe needs to be 12 or 15 or 20?
I mean, I don't mind starting. I was hopefully, in the summer, I was planning on doing a lot of morning meetings. We used to call them CPRs, some sort of social emotional learning activity where we come together as a group, we circle up, we work on our greetings and all that. And, I think I'm realizing that I need to extend this, like you were saying, Blair, a little bit further, maybe try to work in a few more than I was planning on it. We just went to block scheduling at the middle school, which is a little bit of a change for us. 90 minutes with adolescents is a lot, and I'm trying to take advantage of that time and build more of this type of social emotional learning into my 90-minute blocks, which I think works out. Just one little thing, people that know me and have sat through my new staff trainings and stuff, and Bonnie Capes would certainly back me up on this, but we're very big on greetings and just making sure people are, addressing each other in a respectful way. So just one thing I'm trying to really hit home this year is, nobody walks in the door in this classroom without properly greeting me, even if it's just a hello. And I'm being a stickler about it this year, where in years past, I might let an introvert kind of get away with not really greeting me. I just feel like it's really important for even the quiet ones among us this year to just practice those things, even if it's difficult, even if it's challenging, if it's a struggle. I just want to really emphasize that we all need to connect and be on each other's teams and just kind of have each other's backs this year. So I
It's
think
great.
that's
That
my
really
big
is
one.
good.
Thanks. Thank you.
They need that too, just for, general social skills, aside from the connections, but that's really good.
Yeah, like I even told parents at back to school night this year, like, listen, I love my content, but it's not the end of the world. It's social studies. They're not going to remember this stuff 5, 6 years from now, but we have to make sure they remember the sense of community that we could build in our school and our classroom. So just emphasizing that this year for me.
Yeah, and as I had said before, I think that we are seeing that at the high school level. More teachers are putting a little bit more time into that, just some of those connections, making those connections, allowing their classes to make those connections. And I think that when we're able to do it in the smaller classrooms and the kids get more comfortable, that's why I'm saying it's great that you're doing that and having your kids greet you, because then the administrators in the building are able to connect with the kids a little bit better because they get used to it and it becomes that habit.
I think the message though too that sends that, what you said, Mike, you're taking the time, you're showing them how important that is to your students. And I think that speaks volumes. That goes back to what Shayna said earlier about giving them that sense of significance and belonging, that, it's important enough to you to take the time to do it.
And I tell them too, even though I teach 8-year-olds, I let them know that we're working on this, that it's been a long time since we've been together, and they understand. They really do. And they appreciate knowing that we're taking the time to, stretch out the get to know you activities. We throw in, even something as fun as coloring and drawing your own picture and then sharing it with a friend and then talking about why you chose to draw that. It just gets the conversation going and it gets them, they're not in front of a device anymore talking to someone. So that comfort level wasn't there in the beginning. And I'm slowly starting to see them warm up and they're so happy to be together. And just knowing that included in our day, there will be times for them to just relax and socialize. They have really longed for that.
Mm-hmm.
I wish we could do more of that at the high school, and some teachers are able to fit things in. Unfortunately, we do have some classes they're very academically rigorous and have to meet timelines and have to cover set curriculum, and it does limit some of it. So it is unfortunate, but hopefully our kids are getting some of those connections and getting some of the support in other ways throughout the day from other people or in other classes. It's so different how, our kids are going to 4 classes a day and 8 over the course of 2 days. So we're hoping that, they're making those connections, and there are some things that are put into place specifically. We have to structure it a little bit more because we don't have morning meeting like you might have at the elementary level, but yes, takes a little bit more, more planning from the leadership team.
Mm-hmm.
Well, speaking of morning meeting at the elementary level, we usually spend some time working up towards the risk taking for sharing. But what I found right away is these kids were so ready to share with each other everything that comfort level. Even if they weren't comfortable, they just wanted to talk. So, that was a bit different where there wasn't that slow progression. They really wanted to jump right in, and they are enjoying all the different types of shares. So we share many times throughout the day because they just need that.
That's great.
That's awesome. What would you guys say? We have newer teachers that, brand new or just a few years in, and then we have veteran teachers like yourselves that have been doing this for a while. Any advice for either group as we kind of navigate this new norm?
I don't know if I have advice necessarily popping into my mind, but I have noticed that when I speak to veteran teachers and check in to see how they're doing, they're exhausted. That's the first thing usually they'll say, they're exhausted. And when I've spoken to some of the newer teachers lately, they don't seem as exhausted. And I don't think it's an age thing as much as it's just as much as yeah. I think they're kind of like the newer teachers, like you had mentioned before, Blair, they don't really know it differently. They weren't set in their ways, of how we were before. So they're kind of going with the flow a little differently because they have to. I mean, we all have to, but they weren't as set in their ways. So they're modifying things. It's happening a little easier because you already do that so much in your first couple years. So it seems to me like they're kind of like, oh yeah, it's good. Their answer is, yeah, it's okay.
We're like, really?
Everybody else is like, I'm exhausted.
Yeah, and I think it's okay to not know. I think, we're trailblazers, and you really you have to be good to yourself and know that at the end of the day, that whatever you did made some kind of difference, because we've never done it before. So I've been trying to give myself a little bit. I tell myself to shine my shoulder as a celebration because we made it through another day that we've never done. So
yeah, I mean, I was going to sort of say something similar to Shayna's. I mean, I hate to like compare this to a storm or use like a negative metaphor like a storm, but like, we're going to make it through this. It'll pass. We'll get through it. We'll come out on the other side of this. Things will be better at some point. I feel like I've been saying that at home with my family, my other job I work, here at school. I feel like just that's kind of the vibe this year, is just like, hey, we're going to get through this. It might be different. It might not be exactly the way you planned it out, but it's okay. And hopefully there's some teachable moments along the way and some areas for us to grow and improve.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Last question for you guys. Talking about giving ourselves what we need and taking care of ourselves, what have been some permissions that you've given yourself to do or not to do, or any suggestions for permissions for your colleagues to give themselves?
I mean, just since I just finished the last one, it's kind of making me think about this next question too. But, Bonnie says it a lot too, my principal, and I've always kind of lived by this, but education is one of those professions where you have lots of chances to just start over and just try new stuff. And this year I'm trying to tell myself like, hey, there's a cool simulation I'm going to try in social studies. It might not work, but give it a shot. This is the year to try it. Let's see what happens. The kids are open-minded. It's a great chance to reset. It's a great chance to ditch that plan that's a little stale. Maybe you've been using it for a few years. I don't know what it is about the world we live in this environment, but just giving me that spark to just say, you know what, see what happens, give it a shot, see if it sticks. And again, hopefully we can take some things away from this that are good.
I've just given myself permission to slow down and kind of relish in the moment, because teaching through Zoom really made me realize, like I said previously, how much I love what I do. And those teachable moments are right in front of you now. And I just want to catch them and make sure that my students know that whatever we do, we're doing it together, and we're going to be successful together, even if we have to redo it a couple times or spend longer on it. And also that if a plan needs to get bumped to another day, then it'll get bumped. Mm-hmm. So those are my permissions.
Yeah, I'm similar to you, Shayna. I'm giving myself permission to slow down a little bit and not feel like I have to get 150,000 things done in one day. So I'm really trying to spend more time with the kids, like connecting with them personally, one-on-one, and being a support for them, and not like hurrying through, disciplining kids and calling them in, calling them out, and moving on. I'm really trying to get to know kids a little bit better. And that's right. Always something that's important. And at the same time, I'm also giving myself permission to leave when I need to leave, and not completely, bring hours of work home with me, because my own family needs me, and they're, we've been all going through it. They've been going through it too. So it's like, you have to slow down at home also.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Amen,
good point.
Nancy.
Good point, Nancy.
And that is the perfect piece of advice to wrap this episode of Let's Just Hit Record. Thank you to Mike, Nancy, and Shayna for your positivity and insight and your willingness to share with your colleagues. To our listeners, thank you for tuning in. We hope you walk away with a connection, an idea, or permission to do something differently. Thank you for all you're doing. And until next time, take care.